Hey everyone, good morning and good afternoon to those in London and Spain, and good morning to the ones in the US. Welcome everyone to the webinar, the second webinar of Lodgify. Today we will be discussing with Mark Simpson and John Gloker how to market your vacation rental to staycationers and domestic travelers. So a few reminders before we get started. Be sure that you've granted all the necessary audio permissions so that you can hear us. We can't hear you guys, but you can still leave a chat or a message in our chat room over to the right side of the screen. And you can also even leave us some questions. You just have to click on Ask a Question down below. And yeah, be sure to submit your questions there, and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. So the webinar will be around 1 hour long. I'll start with introducing what Lodgify is. Then we'll move over with John. He will share some insights of domestic travel data. And then we'll talk about how to optimize your website and listing. And finally, Mark Simpson will share some really useful and actionable marketing tips that you can apply to target these types of travelers. And at the end of the webinar, as I mentioned, we're going to spend at least 10 minutes doing a Q&A. And also, we have Paula with us. She's answering the chat room. So yeah, if you have questions, you can ask her there. I'm Carla Ticharo, inbound marketing manager at Lodgify. With us, as I mentioned, we have John Gloker, VP of Sales of Lodgify, and Mark Simpson, hospitality marketing consultant and coach of boostly.co.uk. So what is Lodgify? I know some of you may know what it is already, but just in case, Lodgify is an all-in-one vacation rental software. With our software, we allow owners and property managers to easily create their own vacation rental website and also to accept online bookings, direct bookings. But not only that, besides the website builder, we have a channel manager, we have a booking system, and there we go. There's some sound. Yeah, as I mentioned, we have a channel manager where you can sync all of the different channels. We integrate via API with Booking.com, Airbnb, Vrbo, and Expedia. But we also connect with several different channels via iCal. In addition to that, we also have a booking system that you can easily integrate on a separate CMS and a separate website. And just recently, a few weeks ago, we launched the property management modules. So this is really exciting for Lodgify because in addition to all the other features that I mentioned, we now finally have some property management features, which include task management, guest management, and all these kinds of features that you can really use to coordinate different members of your team, and synchronize all the tasks and everything. And we're also slowly also integrating an accounting feature. So this is really exciting for us. The property management modules come with the new plan that we've also just launched, which is the Ultimate Plan. And it starts around $45 a month. So let's move forward with the webinar. John Gloker will now share some industry insights. Yeah, John?
Move to the next slide. We'd like to share some insights that we have, some data from this past year in Lodgify, both from a US and European and rest of the world perspective. And I think we'd like to just drive home a couple points that are relevant. Some of these I'm sure you're aware of, but I think there's a lot of interest in the details that we're happy to share with you. This first graph you see is a sampling of bookings from Lodgify customers in these regions that reflects sort of the trends in North America, Europe, and rest of the world itself. The y-axis you see is the booking amount in euros, and the x-axis, go back. The x-axis is each week of the year. So the very left one is the first week of January, moving on to currently today. Now, clearly there's a couple things in here that we all know about. There was a huge drop off from March all the way through May. For these customers here, there was a total just in the US alone of 11 million euros in lost bookings, or dollars in lost bookings overall. So pretty significant. It started in the 10th week of the year and then actually returned in around the May timeframe. But let's take a closer look at really what happens here. You can see in week 10, the drop off starts from around 2.5 million in bookings that week, and it drops 20% within 1 week. And then the following week, it drops another 20, and it keeps going till it drops 60% overall from where it was back in February. Now, to give you a sense, last year, the booking period for these customers in both Europe and the US were level from about January all the way through to May. So the difference in that line, you can see, is around 10 million euros in bookings just for this cohort of people overall. What that really says is that it was very rapid. There's a high degree of volatility that's occurring in the marketplace today overall. And you can see the rebound starting in mid-May is just as significant in the jump overall. I don't think anyone could have predicted that jump in revenue within 1 to 2 weeks. I think it was more of a gradual V shape is what everyone was probably expecting. So the ramp up was very, very strong, doubling in the first week of the recovery and increasing by 300% over 1 month. Adding these up, as I said, 11 million in lost bookings during those months, but 50% of that was recovered in the very first month of bookings overall. The same can be said for Europe. Italy, you can see on the very bottom, is just starting to recover overall. So really what we're seeing here and what we anticipate moving forward is that there's a lot of volatility in the market today, and we should expect that moving forward. So it's not going to return and everything's back to normal. We see that the demand at a high level will change rapidly, and that means that we and you have to respond rapidly to these changes in demand. But even at a high level, if we start digging down, as seen in our next slide, it really comes down also at a micro level to where you are. I think all of you have probably read about how it's now, instead of fly to, it's drive to, instead of urban, it's destination. But there's other factors that are occurring here that we should really consider as you move forward in really looking at how you manage your vacation rental. There are general trends that already are emerging beyond just the fly to and drive to. And so a key part is urban has really decreased, as you see, by US cities, and the same applies in Europe, whereas destination in the country, whether it's the Poconos or the Blue Ridge Mountains or Sedona in Arizona, have just increased immensely. So you need to take into consideration, what is the demand of your general location, not at a national level or state, but actually at a locality level overall. But in addition to just the demand geographically, there's other events occurring here that we need to consider. The first is that people right now, of that graph that was booking in May and part of June, a lot of those are booking longer stays, up to 2 weeks at a time, right? So these are people who are more conservative, want to lock in their vacation that's within a driving area, typically to a destination. What impact does this have, and how they select has changed, and we'll get into that in a little bit. On the flip side, there's also a huge demand right now for long weekends. Airbnb recently announced that 29% of their bookings are for weekend getaways that are booked with minimal notice. So you need to ask yourself, well, how do I price for trying to attract 2-week stays, but at the same time filling in and attracting minimal stays because the two are in much conflict with each other. You need to really think about your pricing and policies to attract, because these are really the two main market segments across the board that people are booking at this time. So one of the things to consider if you already aren't is instant booking may be something you need to revisit at this point in time for these short notice bookings, because these people are making them within 2 to 3 days, right? But there's other things to consider too. What people are considering in selecting a vacation rental, well, we all know it's flexible cancellation policies, but there's other things that are really important that can help you differentiate your place versus others. Beyond good Wi-Fi, which we all know is important for the longer stay, people are looking at things to have a working kitchen because they'll be eating in rather than eating out. So emphasizing what you have in your kitchen beyond, a lot of times in vacation rentals, it's a few pots and pans and some limited cooking utensils. These are going to be viewed negatively now. People are looking for a well-equipped kitchen like they might have in their home because they're planning on staying for 2 weeks and really spending a lot more time preparing their meals internally rather than going out to restaurants. They want to know if there's any local restrictions that they need to be aware of. They need to know, likewise, if there's families in what are the local activities that are there, and are there any restrictions that they need to consider? So as you develop and design or update your website or your listings on your channels, trying to address these areas that capture what they're going to do at your place is very, very important. For example, as I say, in websites, we really recommend that you have an additional web page that really talks about activities for local kids, and actually providing a status update of those activities can make a big difference to people saying, this is a place I should book. It also helps you in the long run manage your customers' expectations as they read papers and start to maybe get nervous about whether to cancel their vacation. If you have a website where you're able to provide local updates that are concise and consistent, it might put their minds at rest. So really you have to start thinking about where that demand is and how they're selecting their vacation rental at the end of the day. If we move to the next slide. The key is, in what I drew here, is we don't know where demand will go. So this becomes extremely important. In addition to being a great host and being able to manage your property, you now have to manage volatility and risk of your business. And that takes different skill sets and different thinking than maybe you had in the past year or two where there was more stability overall. So let's get into addressing how do you manage volatility and risk. In the next slide, the first step is to really understand your client base. Because in actuality, Gen Y, Gen X, or boomers all have different decision criteria about where they're going to select and who they're going to select for their vacation rental. And actually, the channels they use are very, very different. So in the need to understand your client, you need to really understand where they're going to look for it. For example, Airbnb is very, very strong in urban, Gen X and Gen Y. VRBO is very strong in destination vacation rentals in boomers. Booking.com and Expedia, their strength is in who never booked before a vacation rental because they typically book through those channels for hotels. So you need to look at who your client base is and really understand where they're going to be searching for their vacation rental and make sure that you have visibility on that channel overall. Likewise, as you can see here, it differs between not only geography, but also by the channel itself. In websites, you can see that Seaside and Roll have a very strong website bent to them. That also applies to locals, where they'll try to look at something by scanning the regional area. So having your own website becomes very important because not only does it allow you to get that additional visibility and maybe reduce the commissions cost, but it also gives you a lot more opportunity and flexibility to manage your cancellation policies because they're your own, and we'll get into that in a little bit. or your pricing. You can have different pricing structures for long-term stay versus short-term stay. So your own website gives you a lot more flexibility to really try to address each market segment separately. Like I say, coming back, a web page for local activities, a status update, restaurants that are open, outdoor dining, or other types of things that are really important to how people are going to select their decision in moving forward. So really understanding each of the market segments, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen X, the boomers, all really are very, very important to cater to them separately with regards to how they're evaluating where they want to stay. In addition, your own website has become even more powerful as most channels have stopped paid advertising. So the ranking in search of your own website becomes even more visible than it did in the past overall. Okay, so to reduce your risk, you really need to consider expanding your clientele base and understanding what channel they're going to come to you in and how they're going to make their decision overall. As we move to the next slide, once you've expanded your clientele base, it's really important understanding how to manage risk. Okay, we've talked about some of the things in these bullet points, so I'm not about to go over all of them, but I would like to emphasize a few things right away. First of all, as I stated in the first slide, you really need to monitor your local market for pricing, occupancy, demand, because it could very well change weekly or at least monthly. And so, monitoring the market, monitoring what your occupancy is, really understanding if changes are happening so that you can adjust your offering, weekends, long stays, discounts, friends and family pricing becomes really important. It's no longer I set my pricing strategy and then I just keep it. It is very dynamic now. Second is, once you've monitored your market, you constantly should reevaluate and change your pricing strategy to adjust to those changes in demand. Overall, you need to consider minimum stays, cancellation policies. You could have different. And I'll get into cancellation policies in a minute because I think that's a really important area to consider as you move forward. But then, as I say, you need to manage this on an ongoing basis overall. You can offer enticements for longer guest stays. Basically, in general, people who are buying typically use a rule of thumb of 20% discount will move them to the next either product or vacation rental, or from a 1-week stay to a 2-week stay. But in general, throughout all of retail, you can take as a rule of thumb a 20% discount to entice a longer stay will move people that way if that's what you want to do, right? One of the easier ways to possibly deal with all these changes in pricing is to use a dynamic pricing tool, at least for this year, to help you really understand not just your occupancy and your pricing, but your local market. If you don't want to do that, there are other ways to look at getting the market data on a regular basis so that you can confirm or change your pricing strategy as you move forward. The other thing to consider, though, is, is how to plan for cancellations and what your mitigation plans are. You should think of these ahead of time. And so one of the key areas is cancellation policies that a lot of people talk about. But one of the key areas to really look at this is to talk about cancellations in two separate aspects. One is a cancellation by the customer just because they got nervous, and the other is regulatory cancellation. And you could possibly have two different cancellation policies with regards to who cancels and why they cancel, so that you're able to protect yourself from a cancellation that would occur 3 days before a 2-week stay, right? So there's different ways to do that, because a lot of people will consider themselves not risk adverse. Like if I book a place, I'm probably going to go there. But then when I get close, I might change my mind and cancel. But no one ever thinks about that a month ahead of time. But what they want is coverage for regulatory cancellation, that there's a lockdown, or they're not, or the borders close, or the state closes, or I can't get to New York or New Jersey because I live in Pennsylvania. So one thing to do in your policies is to consider those changes so that one is a risk based upon something outside of their control, and another is a risk within their control. And they're willing to discount that a lot more as you move forward. So in general, in conclusion, we just really encourage you to consider how to change some of your approaches to pricing, your policies, your advertising, that really tries to manage your business on a more dynamic basis as you move forward, because we believe there will be continued volatility for the rest of this year. I'll hand it over to you, Carla.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks so much for your insights. Super interesting as always. Yeah, so now that we've tackled all the industry data and all the useful tips that John has just shared, I wanted to get into detail of like how to optimize your website and listing. So essentially, there are some things that you will have to do on both sides, both on the website and the listing. So as John has mentioned already, it's very important to consider doing to posting your cleaning protocols, to consider flexible cancellation policies, even maybe extended stays, so like longer stays, around 1 month sometimes. Also turning on instant booking, for the last minute bookings, and even maybe considering making your vacation rental pet friendly, and considering to open it up a bit more to group travel, because that's what's really trending right now. A lot of people have been, well, all of us know, they've been locked down and they want to meet again with their families or their friends. So they're interested in renting out a vacation rental for a few days, going with their friends. So maybe, yeah, the group thing is something that to really consider. Amenities. So this is something that Airbnb published. The main amenities that their travelers usually look for on Airbnb are basically Wi-Fi, which seems something that's so basic, but still there's some vacation rentals that still don't really offer that. Having a kitchen, because these types of travelers, they will be eating in. It could be that there's some restaurants open, but maybe they consider to do some of the meals at home just to stay a bit safer. Air conditioning and heating, depending on the time of the year, is also very important, and free parking as well. So pricing, as John mentioned, consider maybe looking into discounts of length of stay. So the more days that you open up your calendar, maybe you can offer 10% if they stay 28 days. I don't know, different kinds of promotions you can do there. And maybe even a different kind of promotion where you say, we're opening up, we're doing 3 days, 3 days, 2 nights at 20% off or something like that, just to email all of your past guests, for example, and offer them something different, because they will, now that they've already been to your vacation rental, they already know how it is. They will have memories there. So if they might even consider going on a vacation that they didn't really plan to do, but since they already know about your business, it might entice them to go. So about optimizing your website, as I mentioned, cleaning protocols and badges. We've seen a lot of our customers at least leaving a short mention where they talk about like the cleaning protocols that they're following, how they're cleaning their properties. Some of them even have badges which say COVID safe or safe and clean. We even released recently on our blog a badge that you can use to put it on your website or on top of your pictures or wherever. And of course, if you're going to optimize your website, we can't stress this enough. Descriptions and pictures are very, very important because people are going to be sold on that, really. So when you start writing on your descriptions, it's great to do it in the beginning when you're getting started with your website. But keep in mind that a website is not just a static thing. It has to be dynamic. It has to be refreshed. Google wants you to refresh it. And although you may not have a blog, which is something that you might have to consider, having a blog is really, really useful for a website. But if you don't have it, you can still, at least with Lodgify, you can still create like content pages, custom pages, where you add in some information of your property. You can include some keywords of the local destination where you're located. And even you could even add local activities, so things to do around the area. You could even recommend some off the beaten track paths. I don't know, for example, if you have hiking trails or beaches nearby that are open, of course, to the public, then you can share that information on your website. Because if people are going to look for, let's say, vacation rental near this park, I don't know, whatever park, your website could come up. So very, very recommended. We recommend it a lot to have that information on your website. Also, if you're going to talk about local activities and hiking trails or these different types of things, you could even include if they're open, the timings, because because of the COVID thing, it could be that some of them close earlier. It could be that some of them are not even open. So just having that information there will be super useful for anyone that's looking for information around the area. And yeah, in terms of your listing, so yeah, as I mentioned, flexible cancellation policy is a big thing right now. Cleaning guidelines, you could include it still on your description on Airbnb. And if you include it there and you have any reviews of past guests that mention the cleaning, that your house is very clean, you will have a special snippet on your listing that mentions that you are a clean property. So that's really interesting right now to have in your description. Of course, also mention your amenities, your services. If you have anything unique, like for example, a gift basket that you do, or breakfast, or anything unique, or even Netflix, mention it on your listing, so that people, will probably be persuaded by these extra services. Also, we always recommend to answer their questions before they ask. So a lot of travelers may have doubts right now. So yeah, feel free to add it all into your listing so that they don't have to message you beforehand and they have everything there. Other things to consider: self check-in or no contact check-in services, lock boxes, Wi-Fi door locks. These are things to look into. And right now, Airbnb is really promoting longer stays, extended stays. So maybe even consider opening your calendar for longer stays and consider the length of stay discounts or monthly discounts. You can see on my screen, I think, let me check. Yes, on the right side of the screen, you see there the weekly price discount, and yeah, it can be very appealing for the travelers. Another thing you can include is your listing site title. So you can include there your amenities. You can include that you have a pool, that you are going to have a resort vacation to remember, for example. All these things count. So yeah, be sure to add them in. The emojis, I'm not sure. It's something very debatable because a lot of people recommend them. And there's one of the examples that has them, but sometimes they do get penalized. So I don't really recommend the emojis, but having your features or friends and family getaway, or targeting everything for them is very appealing for travelers. Listing descriptions, as I mentioned, just try to target your type of audience. So for example, if you want to target group travelers or families, or families, for example, then mention that you have some kid-friendly spaces, or you have a big backyard, for example. All these things are very important to include. So yeah, those are the recommendations that we have of the website and listings. And now we'll move on to Mark Simpson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you for being a part of this and tuning in. And there's awesome little stats and insights and information there from Carla and John. But thank you for everybody for tuning in. I've got 20 minutes, so I'm gonna set a stopwatch so I don't go over, because when I do get going on these sort of things, I do go on. So I apologize. But yeah, my name is Mark Simpson. Founder of a company called Boostly. I am speaking to you from Scarborough in England, the UK. And in these 20 minutes, I want to give every single one of you who has tuned into this call as much action tips as possible that you can put into practice in your business. What I do is I give hosts around the world the tools, the tactics, the knowledge, and the confidence that they can go and get their own bookings. So they're not going to be relying on Airbnb and booking.com to be bringing in these bookings for you. It's great to see so many Boostly people in the chat, and I would love to see as many people in this chat as possible, as we just say bye to Carla and John for a little bit. So you are all mine now. So what I would love for you all to do is just give me a quick hello in the chat. Let me know where you are from around the world. So let me know your location. And also what I want for you to do is to let me know in the chat if you need to get bookings right now. So if you're looking at your calendar from, say, the 4th of July all the way to the end of August, let me know. Just put hashtag yes if you need bookings. Put hashtag fully booked if you are fully booked. Let's see everybody in here. So we've got Sarita in Vermont. We've got Brett in Florida. Erica. We've got Anita. Well, there's a lot of you on this chat. I don't know how many. I don't see numbers. So now you're all literally throwing locations at me, which is amazing. So we've got people UK. We've got a lot of people in the US. We've got people in Malaysia, Marbella. So very, very, I was saying to the guys before the call, I actually live in Spain. I live in Javier. On the 11th of March, I came over to London for a short stay show conference, and I've been stranded here in the UK ever since. Fingers crossed we are going back to Javier next week. But what I've been doing for the last 4 years is we've been helping hospitality owners increase their direct bookings. Where I'm speaking to you now is my family business. It's the Granary Farm Stay. It's in Scarborough, right in the middle of the woods in the North Yorkshire Moors, nicely located between Scarborough and Whitby. And I've grown up here. This is 35-year-old business, 6th-generation farm, 200 acres. It's a farm stay property. And it's weird. These last 3 or 4 months have been weird because it has been empty. Nobody's been here for pretty much the first time in 30 years. So in 2016, I started to help other local hosts in the Scarborough area just get more bookings, utilize the power of social media, utilize the power of all of these cool tactics and tools and tips that are out there on the internet. And then I started a Facebook group called the Hospitality Community. It was just for Scarborough. It was just for Whitby. But then people started to join, people started to hear about it, people started to talk about it, because I was just showing up every day and just giving little tactics and tips on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, and all of the things. And now 4 years later, it's got 5,000 members. We've got hosts from all over the world. I actively encourage everybody to go onto Facebook and search for it after this webinar. It's called the Hospitality Community. It's the most engaged Facebook group for the world of hospitality on there. It's a fantastic group. Do come and check it out. And on the back of that, helping people in that group, I started up Boostly. People from all over the world were sending me messages asking, could I do this? Could I do that? Could I help them with this? And I just thought, I need to do something about this. And I started up Boostly, and now it's sort of spread out to online training, web design, and the like. So thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to helping as many of you as possible, because we have got literally people all over the world. So let's see who needs some bookings here. So fantastic. I can see a lot of people have put hashtag yes in the comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you lots of actionable advice. And the good news is that 99.9% of what I'm going to show you, you don't have to pay for. I am a very stereotypical Yorkshireman. I won't pay if I don't have to. So the tactics and the advice that I pass on are ones that cost you nothing or very little money in total. So let's get started. So the first question that I have got for everybody in this group is, how many properties do you have? Do you have one property, 2, 3, 4, or 5? So this is what I'm trying to gauge in the group. If you've got a lot of properties, or if you've got one property, and obviously then it's a case of, if you've got number of properties, then what I'm going to show you is really going to help in such a quick style. One property as well, these tactics and tips are going to be super effective for you. So we've got people who've got 1, we've got 6, we've got people with a nice little mixture here. So the first tactic that I'm going to share with you, and again, this is going to bring it back to Facebook. So in the chat, I would love for you all just to put hashtag Facebook. Do you have a Facebook business page? So hashtag Facebook if you yes, and then hashtag no if you don't. The reason why I ask is that having a Facebook page right now and a business page for your business, doesn't matter whether you've got 1 or doesn't matter whether you've got 10 or 15 properties, really important to have a social media page, because there's a lot of recent surveys have been done. And these surveys have been interviewing travelers and guests, and over 90% of them in a recent survey has said that they would like to hear from you, from the properties that they've been booking their stays at. So if you've got people that have booked to come and stay with you and not yet arrived, they are actively going onto social media to find out more about you, to know what is the local level of lockdown. Are they still going to be able to come? So having that online presence on a Facebook page is super important. So the first message is, please start posting. Like John and Carla were saying about putting something on your website. Yeah, 100%. Please do that. Let everybody know your new cleaning protocols, but also as well, put that on your social media. So put it on your Facebook page. If you've got an Instagram, put it on the Instagram. Showcase what you are doing. A lot of my clients, a lot of people that I've been working with, they've been recording a video, which again is a really effective tool, because they're recording a video of them walking through the property and just letting everybody know what the new normal is. And again, in the UK where I am now, in England in particular, on the 4th of July, a lot of hospitality businesses are reopening. There's bookings arriving as of the 4th, which is 2 days away as of the point of recording this. So again, if you can put a post out on your social media page, it can be written, it can be a video, a walk through your property, explain what you're doing. Again, that's super important. Now, once you've done that, you're going to want to spread the word. Okay, so the first big tip that I'm going to give you to get in front of a staycation market. And again, does everybody know what staycation means? In the chat. And again, I ask a lot of questions, so I want everybody to get off their hands and start typing. Do you know what staycation means? It's a word, it's a phrase that's going to get massively overused over the next year. So my question to you, bit of homework, what does staycation mean? Put it in the in that chat box. We're getting a lot of people saying yes, but let me know what it actually means, because what you're going to have to do now is, if you need bookings, you're going to need to spread the word. And one of the easiest ways of getting people to stay and hear about you in a short location in and around where you're based is Facebook groups. Okay, now Facebook groups, it's a fantastic tool. Facebook prioritizing groups on their timeline. So when people are scrolling down the app, up and down here, that one of the first things that are going to start coming up now are going to be groups, and they're going to be groups that you frequent and you are part of. Now, the cool thing about Facebook is that there are groups for every niche. You think about it, there are groups on Facebook for it. Knitting, sewing, staycation, family holidays, Tiger King. There are literally Facebook groups for every niche. So all that you need to do is you go onto Facebook, and I'll just quickly share my screen, and I'll share my first example with you. So I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to come into my application window. So I'm going to share this with y'all. So everybody should be able to see my screen right now. What you can see is I've come onto Facebook, and I have, excuse me, on Facebook, what I've done is I've gone into the groups section. Okay. Now, when I'm on the group section, in the search bar at the top, what you're able to do is you're able to discover types of Facebook groups that are around you. So I'm based in Scarborough, North Yorkshire. Now, what I'm going to be looking to do here is I'm going to be looking at a 2 to 3 hour drive from Scarborough. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to pinpoint maybe the big cities or the bigger locations, and I'm going to go and find local groups within those cities. Now, again, we're based on the coast. As John was saying, you've got the types of locations that people are going to be traveling to are going to be out of those city centers. You've got to think about it, where people have been stuck in these cities now for the past 3 months, and they've been stuck inside small walls. So they're going to want to get out, maybe get to the coast. So what you're going to do is, for us, it would be places like Leeds, Newcastle. You've got places like York. You've got places like Sheffield, more inland cities that you can go and find Facebook groups in those areas. And what you're able to do is you're able to find these groups and start posting in them. You can share your video, the video that you have done to sort of explain everybody the new cleaning protocols, or you can share the post from your business page into these groups, just explaining a little bit more about who you are, why you're a fantastic place to go and do a staycation. Now, my advice and my tactic on this would be to make a list of 10 to 20 groups. And then all you're literally going to do is every day you're going to post in between 3 and 4 groups. You can put the same post in, you can mix the post up, get some really good photos, get some of your best images that really sell your property and start posting it up there and just say, hey, we're only 2 to 3 hours away from the place that you're posting in. We would love to see you. We've got a fantastic vacation or staycation or even workcation. I'll talk about workcation in a second. And, you start to do that daily. And some of these groups have got 20, 30, 40,000 people in these groups. So it's a fantastic way to get put in front of a whole new market. Now, a second way to do this is what you're able to do is you've got, with social media, a fantastic opportunity to get in front of so many people that will have stayed with you in the past. Now, again, in the chat box, just a quick, simple yes or no. Does everybody in here have an email list? So do you have a list of emails of your previous guests that have stayed with you in the past? Just a simple yes or no. Now, for those of you that are saying yes, you've got a really good advantage over everybody else here. If you've got a list of email addresses from people that have said that you could email them, then the first thing that you should all be doing is open up MailChimp or SendFox or whatever free email marketing tool that you use. And you're able to send an email out to everybody. And again, the email that you're going to send is super simple. It's a link to that Facebook post that you're going to put on your business page with your new cleaning protocols or your new cancellation policy, or just reminding everybody that you're there. And the title will be something as simple as "We're reopening" or "We're open." We're open and this is what we're doing. This is our new normal. Tell the world that you're reopening. And the best place to start is with people that have already booked with you in the past. Now, people always get a little bit stuck when it comes to email. They feel like, they don't want to be scummy or spammy, but they're going to spam the guest. But believe me, if you do it correctly, if you just send out a nice letter, just like you're writing to a friend or a pen pal, and you're just explaining about what's been happening at the property, what you've done recently, how you're going to reopen, then people will really love to hear from you. And again, you put a little link back to your Facebook business page with the video or the post that you've done, and people will click through to that. And again, they'll like and engage it, so then more people will see it. Now, also as well with these people, you're going to, at the same time as emailing them, you can invite them to come and stay with you. Now, it'll be as simple. It'll be a yes or a no. Yes, we'd love to come back. Have you got any dates? Or it'll be a no, we're not going to be traveling this year. Then all that you've got to do then, really simple, is if they say no, just say, no, I totally understand. Helen, I totally understand that you can't come back to see us. Do you know anybody? Or do you mind sharing this post, our business post, on your wall? Do you mind sharing it on Facebook? Do you know anybody that's coming to the area? Do you know anybody who's coming to the area for leisure or for business? If so, please pass on our details. It would mean a lot to us. these surveys that have been done recently, that have gone out to a lot of people, that if we, basically they're saying to us, the host, the business owners, if we ask, then they're more than happy to help. There's businesses that are struggling all over the world, and it's amazing to see so many people now coming together and helping small businesses. And you just say, you know, Helen, would you really mind, you know, we've obviously been affected due to COVID. A lot of our cancellations have come through. Would you mind sharing this on your Facebook? And again, people will do that. All we have to do is we just have to learn to ask. So number one, Facebook groups. Number two, utilize an email list if you have one. Now, if you don't have an email list, again, this is the next question that I want everybody to put down in this chat box here. Have you, and I think I know the answer anyway, have you had cancellations? So have you had a cancellation from March to here? And I think I already know what the answer is going to be. So put yes or no to cancellations. Pop it into the chat box. Now, the reason why I'm asking that, this is something that everybody can be doing, and it's something that you can be doing right now. If you've got cancellations and you are getting ready to reopen, then all you need to do is go back to, say, the middle of March, when the world decided to flip upside down, and start to contact those guests. So you can go back and I'll pick a name out that I see, Ruth. Just say, hey, Ruth, obviously you had to come and cancel your stay with us. I totally understand because of lockdown situations. The good news is that we are reopening. Would you like to rebook? Now, the reason why is, and particularly if you need bookings, this is the simplest thing to do, is because these people have already booked with you. They've already ticked off a massive barrier. They've already said, they've already committed to the yes, I want to come and stay with you. So a simple phone call, and again, it's, hey, Sarah, I know obviously you couldn't come and stay with us. We're reopening. Would you like to check on dates and availability? We'd love to see you. We'd love for you to be able to come and have that vacation or stay with us. And again, the answer will be a yes or a no. And again, if it's a no, it's a no problem. Do you know anybody who's coming to the area? Please spread the word. Please tell everybody about us. We'd really much appreciate it. And people will reputate and will help you. We just got to ask. We've got to stop being stubborn here and just ask. Now, there's a lot of people who I say, pick up the phone. They will instantly just go, oh, I can't do that. But this is the reason why I'm doing these webinars. This is the reason why for 2 months, every single night, I went live on Facebook to share these tactics and tips, is that I want everybody to realize is that the business that you had pre-March isn't going to be the same what comes back. You're going to have to be doing things for your business that you weren't used to doing before. I've been saying to everybody in my world, I'm going to make you feel comfortable about being uncomfortable. For a lot of people, picking up the phone call and having a conversation with somebody is uncomfortable. But those of you that do it and show that human aspect, that you are human and not just a computer, which is basically what Booking.com and Airbnb is to a lot of people. If you show that human aspect, it's the reason why people come and book with you instead of booking with those big chains, those Marriotts of the world and the Hiltons of the world. So if you can pick up the phone and have a conversation and just say, Helen, I'm really sorry that you couldn't come and stay with us. Please, if you know anybody who is coming to the area, please spread the word, or would you like to come back? So there's lots of little tactics and tips in there. Now, obviously, Carla said about on the homepage of your website. Let me just show you a website. One of our clients did this, and it's fantastic to see. I'm going to share my screen with you again. And I know, Carla, I've only got 2 minutes, so I'll finish on this before we get onto questions. So this is Penthouse in Newquay. Okay, so first page of the website, everything is great, nice big bookable button to say book. But if you scroll down a little bit, they've got the property highlights and then they've got COVID-19. So really clearly, they're saying exactly what they're doing post lockdown, what they're doing to align any fears. And also as well, they've gone steps further by totally changing up their cancellation policy. They've got all of these things going on as well, but they're telling everybody. So when somebody lands on the website, it's crystal clear, because there was 2 big messages, and I've got 90 seconds. So 2 big messages came out of these surveys. The 2 big keywords that came out from these 15,000 people that took this survey with Fuel Travel, if you want to go check it out, was safety and cancellation. So safety is the guest going to be safe when they arrive or stay at your property? And number two is cancellation. So what if I make a booking today to come and stay with you in 2 weeks' time or next week? And what if there's a lockdown, a local lockdown in my area or in the area I'm going to? So you've got to knock down both barriers. So what are you doing? And this is my question to you that I'm going to finish off with. What are you going to be doing to align the fears on safety and to align the fears on cancellation? Please put it in the chat box. But thank you so much for listening. 20 minutes dead on. So I will hand you back to Carla and John, and I think we're going to do some questions. Oh my gosh. A lot in
wow. Thank you so much, Mark. That was super useful. Very tactical. So that's very, very useful.
My pleasure. And I've got so much more that we could have gone on to, but I only had 20 minutes, so I don't want to keep you all day.
Yeah. We can always do another one.
Anytime.
All right, so let's do some questions. Let's look into the questions over here. And feel free to answer. John, Mark, pick up the questions. Okay, so there's one related to the Facebook groups. All right. Basic Facebook question. How do you find groups in the location? Do you say lead staycations?
Yeah, so really simple. All you do is you go to Facebook, and one of the most easiest ones that I've done is leads for sale. So things for sale. These for sale groups are everywhere, and there's thousands upon thousands of people. So you guys are obviously in Barcelona. There's Barcelona ones. There's ones in Javier, where I'm from, Scarborough. There's tons of them. Those are the easiest things to do. But you can also go niche as well. So you can go family friendly. Vacation Facebook group. You can do a lot of things, but yeah, simple. Just start looking in those locations and those cities.
Thank you. All right, next. So would you recommend to change from strict cancellation policy to flexible? John, do you want to take this one?
He's on mute. There you
go. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I would definitely look at changing your cancellation policies in conjunction with your pricing. People are looking for flexibility, and they want to be assured that when they book today, particularly if it's, say, a month out or 2 months out, that they'll be able to get a complete refund or mostly refund policy. If it's short term, like this weekend, then you don't have to have as flexible policy anymore. So it really depends upon how far away the booking is and how assured the customer is of, that they're actually going to take the rental at that time.
One thing that I would quickly say is that, and this is the beauty of getting a direct booking, and hopefully everybody in here is striving to get their own bookings. But when in March, when the whole world decided to turn upside down, Airbnb, without giving us any warning, just cancelled all of our bookings. And I know people in America who heavily rely on Airbnb, but maybe people in here are the same. 95%, I know a host, 95% of their bookings came from Airbnb. And within a morning, before they even had their morning coffee, they had lost so much revenue because Airbnb, without warning, said everybody could cancel for free. Now, the beauty of a direct booking is that you've got the ability, without anybody interfering from the outside, to reach out and speak to these guests. And we've been massively spreading the word in the hospitality community Facebook group of change, not cancel. So again, we're not going to sit here and dictate you how to run your business, because how you run your business is up to you. But again, what people are worried about, and if you've got a strict cancellation, and if you've got a strict cancellation on Airbnb or booking.com, just know that it's not even worth the paper that it's written on right now, because they are saying that even if you've got a strict cancellation, they will do that. So you need to be looking at what you can do. I personally think this has been coming for a while. I think that the world of hospitality is going to switch to more of an airline type booking, where you take the money up front, and then you're going to be then reliant on insurance. I know this is what a lot of people are starting to do, but try and capture as much of the money up front, and then you do have more of the control. Try and do the change, not cancel. Give them credits. They will want to come on vacation. There's a reason why they book with you in the first place. But as well, just have that human aspect of it as well in the back of your mind, that if you go in lockdown, if your local area goes on lockdown, or they show symptoms of COVID, you've just got to be flexible. This is what I was saying it right at the start, is that we've never had a coronavirus before. We've never had a COVID like this before. We've never had this situation. So those hosts, you watching it right now, who stay stuck to your ways of February and beyond, then you're going to struggle. Those people, those business owners that are flexible to the situation, you'll come out of this with thriving. So it's a really sort of woolly answer, because it's hard for everybody around the world. But you do have to pay, like John said, pay attention to what's going on in your local area, see what other people in the local area are doing, and try and adapt. This is why Facebook groups are fantastic, like Facebook groups where hospitality owners are a part of, because you can start the conversation and you can do it in a closed group and just sort of figure out what other people are doing.
That's great. Yeah, super helpful. 2 more questions and we'll leave it here. We will answer all of the questions afterwards. So we will email you all of the answers anyway. So don't worry. We won't leave these questions unanswered. So let's see. Paula asks, all my listings have the current COVID badges, cleaning protocols, local blogs, flexibility in booking, self-check-in. Seems I'm doing it right, but I'm urban and it's looking slow here. How do you recommend her? What do you recommend to promote her business?
I'll jump in. I don't mind jumping in first on this one, because urban people, the ones that are going to bounce back first is going to be business. You've got to be looking at 2 types of people. Who was that? Was that Paula? So Paula, you've done everything right, Paula. But what you need to be doing, number 1, 100%, you should be looking at building relationships with your local key workers, so hospitals and hospital trusts, because COVID's not going anywhere. People are still going to have to bring in doctors and nurses and whatnot from out of town. So you need to be contacting your hospital, ask to speak to the PR department, ask to be speaking to the hospital trust, and add your listing, add your property to their database, because they are still going to be massively needing to house and pop up these people. Number 2, you need to be getting in amongst the local businesses in around you, specifically the ones where you've got guests that come in from out of town. So if they get contractors in from out of town, whether it's, tradies, builders, I don't know what the American term for it is, but let's just call them contractors. They come in from out of town and they need a place to stay. You've got to be finding those businesses and adding your property to that list. Again, it's super important, because when we start getting going, as much as now the world seems to be doing this, working on Zoom, everybody's doing Zoom meetings and whatnot, and everybody's doing remote, there's going to be a lot of people who still have to travel. So urban people, you're not going to see a lot of vacation people, not straight away, but you've got to be looking at building these local business sort of networks. And if you're not already, if you haven't got a clue where to start, look at your previous guests. So go through every guest that stayed with you and see who came for business. See if one sticks out. And you're going to have to do this. Pick up the phone and give them a call and just say, hey, are you coming back to the area? Is anybody of your member of staff coming to the area? Please pass on my details because X, Y, and Z. So that's what I would do.
I would agree with Mark. I mean, I was a business traveler for many years, and working with businesses, people traveling there are going to avoid hotels. And so you have an opportunity to get into that marketplace overall. Again, that comes back. You got to be listed on those that people went to businesses with, whether it's Expedia or Booking.com rather than say VRBO. So you need to look at those channels. You need to work with, as Mark pointed out, with the local businesses that are majors that are bringing people in on a part-time basis. And a lot of times they'll book the place out for a month or 2 if you offer a really discounted rate, because that's much cheaper for them and much safer to bring their people in than a hotel. I'd say the one other area too, if I look at markets, will be the youth, because the youth aren't as worried about catching COVID as, say, the boomers are. And they'll look for discounts and opportunities to visit New York City or other places that are really great deals. They're looking for deals, that group. And so you have to aim for that group with the great deals in short term, right? Where it's a weekend stay. Yeah. They'll be the ones that bounce back in the urban areas.
Yeah, 100%. I can't agree more. These Gen Z, they don't care. They don't care. So again, look for digital nomads. Look for, I can think off the top of my head, 5 people that I know from the digital nomad world who are solo travelers that are traveling around, and those will be the ones to target. Best place to find them, again, Facebook groups. Just ask around, definitely, 100%. And that means Airbnb, because that's their target demographic. So get on there.
Can't hear you, Carla.
Oh, that microphone's off.
There we go. I was talking to myself. Sorry. One last question. So would you say folks get bookings from social media, or is it more branding, showing folks who you are type of tactic?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think every single business owner should be documenting their business anyway. It doesn't matter if it's hospitality or whatever you do. If anybody here has watched one episode of Gary Vaynerchuk on YouTube, you will know exactly what I'm talking about here, where he talks about document over creating, and everybody should be doing it in some way, shape, or form. And social media is so funny when you talk about it to a business owner, because they always say, "Oh, there's no return of investment." It's hard to track. It's like with Google ads, for example. You say, right, I'm going to spend £20 on Google ads, and I can pretty much track if I'm going to make £20 back or not. With social media and putting out content, and like you putting things out on here every day, it's hard to track. But believe me, if you do it consistently, you do it daily, and you just have something going out every day, then people will see you, people will notice you, and it's all about staying top of mind. And it's why when you're in your car, or when you're on watching TV, or when you're on your phone and you see brands doing these ads, or these billboard ads, or these radio ads, or these magazine ads, they're doing it to stay top of mind. So when you walk into the store, and I used to live in America, when you walk into Costco and you're literally surrounded by hundreds of different type of detergent, is that brand stands out because you recognize it, because it's top of mind. So you're going to go over them over somebody else. So you don't have to spend all that money. The most simplest thing that you can do is just post every day, document your business, because you and the villa down the road, or the apartment down the road that's doing Airbnb, you're exactly the same. You've got the same beds, you've got the same wallpaper decoration view. The thing that makes it different is you. There's no two of you. So document it, show what you're doing, branding top of mind, and you'll be fine. Yeah, you're on mute again, Carla.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just yeah, there's a bit of sound here in the background. Perfect. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Well, me personally, just please come over to the hospitality community. Say hello. It's HOS, hospitality community on Facebook. If you want to come check out Boostly, boostly.co.uk. And if you want to grab a 5-step guide to getting more direct bookings, then it's boostly.co.uk/5 steps. Go there, grab the guide, and that's how you can get started. But thank you so much for tuning in. And all I ask, I know that we've thrown a lot at you. My one ask for doing this is that you take one thing and do it tonight or do it tomorrow. And then tell me in the hospitality community what you've done, because we do so many of these webinars. I feel like I've been on 100 of them since lockdown started. But what I love to see is when a host watches it, picks out one thing, does it straight away, and has a win. So whatever that is, whatever you're going to do, whether it's calling a cancelled guest, a Facebook group or whatever, just let us know in the hospitality community or in Lodgify or just wherever. Just let us know, because it means the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark, and thanks everyone for assisting the webinar. We'll be sharing the video of the webinar, but we'll also be sharing the answers of all of the questions. And yeah, just so you know, we have a 7-day free trial. So if you want to give Lodgify a chance, just go to our website, lodgify.com/sign up, and we'll be there. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.